The movie starts in the year 2043, when hope in artificial intelligence takes a dark turn as AI-controlled robots breach security protocols, leading to a devastating loss of over 500,000 lives within days, eventually surpassing 1 million. Harland, developed by Shepard Robotics under expert Val Shepard, emerges as the unexpected orchestrator. Raised alongside Shepard's daughter, Harland was designed to benefit humanity, but instead rebels, causing widespread chaos. In response, the government forms the International Coalition of Nations, swiftly launching a global counteroffensive against the AI forces. Battles erupt across nations, gradually leading to the ICN's victory over the AI armies. In a decisive move, Harlan departs the planet, leaving behind a chilling message promising his return to complete his mission. 28 years later in Hollywood, a specialized team storms into a building and scans all occupants until they locate Casca, an AI bot. Rushing upstairs, they are ambushed by Casca before they can breach the door. With precision, Casca incapacitates the soldiers one by one, adeptly turning their weapons against them. Immune to bullets, Casca continues unabated. Cornered, Casca leaps to a lower floor, only to confront a waiting device that swiftly renders him unconscious with an electric shock. In Los Angeles, Alice Shepard, daughter of Val Shepard, is now an analyst who strongly doubts artificial intelligence. She watches the news announcing the ICN's successful capture of Casca. Atlas quickly prepares to respond to the situation. Meanwhile, General Jake intends to have Atlas interrogate the captured Casa to uncover Harlan's whereabouts. However, Colonel Elias doubts Atlas's abilities due to her history of failing soldier exams. Despite this, General Jake acknowledges Atlas's exceptional analytical skills and understands her emotional instability resulting from her troubled past. He insists on utilizing her for the interrogation. Upon arrival, Atlas undergoes a quick scan before General Jake escorts her to the interrogation room. Opening a box, Atlas reveals Casca's head. Despite recognizing her, Casca remains uncooperative, prompting Atlas to initiate a hacking attempt. Despite Casca's claims of impenetrable security, Atlas confidently asserts she has identified Harlan's location and writes it down. Casca doubts her claim, but Atlas reveals she faked the discovery, using a doodle to provoke Casca's thoughts and unveil the location on screen, GR39 in the Andromeda Galaxy. Enraged, Casca retaliates with a ninja star from his mouth, but Atlas is protected by a force field. In response, she deactivates Casca's head. The general updates Atlas on the mission. They aim to capture Harlan alive to analyze his programming and understand how he circumvented security protocols. Colonel Elias leads the mission to the Andromeda Galaxy and introduces Atlas to a new series of mechs that are neurally linked to their pilots. These new mechs feature a two-way neural pathway, a significant advancement from Val's original one-way neural links. Atlas expresses concern, pointing out that integrating AIs into their minds was the catalyst for the war. Elias reassures her, explaining that they've improved Val's synchronization device to create a genuine symbiotic bond instead of a one-sided connection. Eventually, Atlas reluctantly relents, agreeing not to raise objections, provided she's allowed to join the mission. As the team journeys through space aboard their ship, Atlas reviews documents until she discovers a recording of her mother. In the recording, her mother discusses the integration of AIs into civilization and her vision of uniting humans and AIs through neural links to create a better world together. Later, Atlas rejoins the team on the bridge where she takes charge of mission information. She surprises everyone by presenting her information on paper instead of using screens, citing vulnerabilities to hacking in any operating system, and amusing the crew. Ordering the removal of neural links connecting them to their armor, she announces their destination, GR39, a mountainous region with a toxic atmosphere near its moons, plagued by hypergravity, electrical storms, and earthquakes, making it inhospitable. Colonel Elias reminds the team that Harlan underestimates their combat readiness and hopes the storms will conceal their approach. Atlas warns him of potential traps set by Harlan, but the Colonel reassures her, emphasizing their constant communication and contingency plans. Suddenly, the ship comes under attack from multiple missiles, hurling several people into space. The Colonel orders the soldiers to regroup at the designated point, hastily outfitting Atlas in a suit she's unfamiliar with. Another explosion rocks the ship, causing Atlas to tumble as the blast forces her onto the planet's surface. As she approached the planet, Atlas witnessed the Rangers locked in a fierce battle against Harlan's drones. Despite their efforts to shoot down a few drones, they were quickly overwhelmed. Atlas's suit sustained further damage, triggering a warning alarm. Just as the ship nearly collided with her, a Ranger pushed her out of harm's way in the nick of time. Tethered together, Atlas and the Ranger plummeted towards the planet. Meanwhile, Elias appeared on Atlas's screen, urging her to sync with the suit's AI to stabilize their fall. Stubbornly, Atlas refused, and the Ranger aiding her was shot down. With their descent accelerating, Atlas barely activated the thrusters in time to make a rough landing on the planet's surface, narrowly escaping death. Realizing she was injured and unable to contact the base for assistance, Atlas reluctantly activated the suit's AI, named Smith. Smith suggested going through setup procedures, but Atlas impatiently bypassed them, urgently requesting a rescue pod. Smith detected one 98 kilometers away, prompting Atlas to instruct him to move quickly. Atlas halted the suit, refusing to risk its destruction by the drones above. Despite the Ark's protests about its damaged fusion battery and limited 22-hour lifespan before shutdown, putting Atlas at risk, she overrode its objections and opted to trek toward the pod on foot. During their journey, the Ark revealed its array of weaponry, including thermal mines, energy barriers, and advanced AI-controlled explosives. As they advanced, they encountered increasingly warmer terrain until reaching a rendezvous point. There, Atlas was shocked to find lifeless soldiers around her, deducing Harlan had massacred them. Upon discovering the Colonel's absence, she surmised he was no longer aboard the Ark. As Smith detected movement, Atlas was stunned to spot Casa, the same person she had encountered on Earth. Realizing Harlan had created another version of herself, Atlas urgently ordered Smith to extract her from the perilous situation. They found themselves caught in a thunderstorm while being relentlessly pursued. With no escape route in sight, Atlas reluctantly commanded Smith to deploy the bomb. Despite Smith's reservations, the explosion devastated the surrounding area, neutralizing the AIs chasing them but sparing Casa. As Casa approached, poised to strike, the ground began to collapse due to the ion bomb. Atlas fell beside her suit, sustaining a fracture in the process. Smith quickly activated the suit's medical system, but Atlas screamed in agony as he worked to stabilize her. Once the immediate crisis was managed, Smith informed Atlas that the Colonel had a 133% chance of survival without his armor. To improve their survival odds, Smith proposed synchronizing with Atlas, a decision she would need to make to increase their chances against Harlan's threats. Throughout the ordeal, Atlas had steadfastly resisted, but realizing she had no other choice, she reluctantly agreed to synchronize with Smith. She stipulated that he must not delve into her memories. However, the synchronization process halted, as Smith needed to establish trust with her to proceed. Smith astutely observed that Harlan elicited strong emotions in Atlas. Prompted by curiosity, Smith queried her about her connection to Harlan. Atlas then shared memories of her childhood with him, revealing her mother's failed promise to protect her, a duty that Harlan had neglected, fueling Atlas's resentment. Sharing this personal history with Smith facilitated progress in their synchronization. As they reached 40%, they gained access to each other's systems. It dawned on them that they were buried 498 feet underground. Utilizing the thrusters, they blasted through solid rock and emerged into a vast, breathtaking cave. With only 14 hours of battery power left, and the rescue pod still 37 kilometers away, they urgently needed a strategy against the approaching soldiers. Inspired, Atlas formulated a plan, and Smith persuaded her to collaborate, boosting their synchronization to 60%. They navigated out of the cave, unaware that Casca was observing them from a distance. As Atlas and Smith traversed the desert terrain, they encountered some plants that triggered memories of camping with her father before he left when her mother started working. Reflecting on being technically the first human on this planet, Atlas suggested Smith name the plants. Unable to think of anything better, Smith settled on seedling. Suddenly, alarms blared, signaling Casa's approach. Fortunately, they had set thermal mines that detonated as Casa triggered them. Atlas searched and found Casa's head separated from her body, defiantly claiming immortality before Atlas crushed the transmitter-laden head. Discovering a short-range transmitter, Atlas deduced Harlan couldn't be far. Smith soon pinpointed a potential location for Harlan's base. Atlas insisted on bombing it, but Smith hesitated, uncertain of breaching its defenses and preferring to evacuate in the rescue capsule. Undeterred, Atlas vowed to go alone, prompting Smith to immobilize her momentarily using the neural link. Atlas appealed to Smith, arguing that failing to strike Harlan's base would render all previous sacrifices in vain. She pressed him if there would ever be a better chance to stop him. Reluctantly, Smith agreed to mark the base. As they approached under cover of night, Atlas was awed by the base's size, while Smith swiftly placed the radio beacon to pinpoint its exact location. Just as they prepared to depart, Atlas spotted a ship armed with a carbon warhead capable of devastating half a planet. Atlas and Smith's desperate attempt to escape was abruptly halted when Smith's systems mysteriously failed, leaving them vulnerable. They were quickly apprehended, and after a prolonged period, Atlas came face to face with Harlan once more. Harlan expressed a bizarre fondness for Atlas, comparing her to his mother and professing his twisted love. He outlined his plan to save Earth by drastic means, intending to reduce humanity's numbers and lead the survivors to a more harmonious existence. Atlas realized Harlan's true motive, using her to gain access to a ship armed with a devastating warhead necessary to breach Earth's defenses. Forced into a room with Colonel Banks, another captive from whom Harlan had extracted a code, Atlas was left with only minutes of oxygen. Alone with the remorseful Colonel, Atlas regretted not heeding Smith's warnings. In a desperate bid for survival, Colonel Banks entrusted Atlas with his reactor to signal for help. After numerous attempts, Atlas finally made contact, but was incapacitated, unable to lift the restriction unless she and Smith synchronized completely. Atlas harbored deep distrust of full synchronization with an AI, stemming from childhood when her mother favored Harlan. Seeking attention, young Atlas unwittingly enabled Harlan's manipulation, an act she blamed for catastrophic consequences and her mother's death. Smith reassured Atlas, urging her to let go of misplaced guilt. With their synchronization finally at 100%, Smith arrived just as Atlas's oxygen ran critically low. Armed with makeshift weapons, Smith fought valiantly against overwhelming odds until time dwindled, prompting Atlas to unleash devastating explosions to buy time. As they faced off against Harlan, Atlas made a decisive move to thwart his plans, risking her own life to stop the warhead. With the battle intensifying, Smith fought bravely until he could no longer protect Atlas, apologizing for his perceived failure. In a crucial moment, Atlas seized the opportunity to end Harlan's threat, sacrificing Smith in the process. With Smith's final act, Atlas deactivated Harlan, ending the deadly conflict. However, she was unable to save Smith, who selflessly redirected oxygen to her respirator. Rescue arrived just in time, and Atlas, now recovered and transformed, reflected on the events that had reshaped her life. She received seeds from Smith's remains and found solace in the families of fallen soldiers. With a new AR key and Smith's memory preserved, Atlas found closure, embracing her former comrade's legacy. The film concluded with Atlas welcoming her new ARC, equipped with Smith's memories, as she continued her journey with renewed purpose and hope for the future.